Hello, everybody. Welcome to the April 2025 State of the Market. Al,
How you doing, Bill?
good. Grass is growing up here in the north, and it's not beautiful, but it's not terrible. So it's been a long winter here, so it's nice to
be coming out of it. Coming out of the cold. It was. I was in Charlotte yesterday. It's 88 degrees.
Wow. You see, I'm wearing a hoodie right, zip
yeah,
hoodie
I see
right
that.
now.
I'm like, it's not 88 degrees there.
No, it's in the 60s.
Which actually, hey, 60s are good with me, man.
Yeah, I'll take it.
I'll take 60s and 70s. You're
totally
round. San Diego weather.
Yeah, San Diego.
Yeah.
Let's see. What's new in the world of cards? PSA/Fanatics opened up in London, which is good. It seems like there's a lot more of the companies are trying to figure out things over in Europe for customer service type of things and to help collectors over there.
At least to help facilitate submissions and stuff like that. I think there's some grading on site now with CGC and Beckett, I think, in Germany. Okay. I think. Or going to be soon. So, yeah, I'd say exciting kind of progressing times for the hobby. I was thinking the other day when we were chatting on kind of the premium that I really thought that we would see after kind of the boom and then to a large extent the bust. I expected the grading volumes to have some of that same, maybe the slope of the humps were going to be different, but I expected it to largely follow the market. And I think we've had some up here in general. I don't follow all the subsegments of the market, but and if you look at the grading, I was looking at gem rate, it's like up and to the right.
Yeah.
Like some of the biggest grading months of all time have been this few months. If you notice, PSA hasn't had a bulk order option in the last 4 months since Christmas.
Yeah, I noticed. I know somebody was mentioning that there's a lot of like Pokemon submissions. I don't know for sure, but I've heard that as a narrative explaining something recently.
Yeah, I mean the Pokemon, the set that just came out in 2025, the high-end set is amazing. It's been super hard to get. They're going for sports card Harry. They're going. It's just like resale values are crazy. You'll never find it on a store shelf. And so, because I was checking the other day, I mean, those things already have pops of like 10,000 per card graded.
Wow.
Right. So, that absolutely. But even when you adjust for that, it's just strong, which is why still the latest pricing. I'll go to PSA here. While we have, I think the lowest pricing on any sub that you could do right now is like $18.99. They used to have Pokemon or vintage or modern, whatever it was for what do you call it? $13.99.
Yeah.
14, 15, and now I think it's 18. And then
it's there's obviously strength of submissions. Like they're not gonna, they're not lowering prices unless they need to, right? Like,
yeah,
why would you as a business?
Yeah, so they're $18.99 is the lowest value bulk for 79 and older. $19.99.
Yeah, it's great for them.
Yeah, I mean, and I didn't think it would stick this high for that long. I mean, the question for me was, are we going to get into the close to $10 a card so that we could do set building? And right now, the answer is a clear no.
Yeah, it feels like they're not going to be too concerned with set builders for any time soon, just because, I mean, it just doesn't make sense for them, right? You have a certain capacity, and you're just gonna, as long as it's full, who cares?
Yeah, and they're full, and they're getting. Man, I just got some big what do you call them? The great charges.
Upcharges,
Yeah, I got some
upcharges.
big upcharges on cards that had never sold,
Hmm.
which becomes interesting, right? Anyway, long story short, I think that's part of what's going on in the market. It is the resilience of the demand for grading, and now setting up in Europe for all these guys. I think we're also going to see that continue.
Yeah, I mean, all it's going to do is increase demand, right? For grading.
And they're not setting up to grade locally, so that also hits this backlog situation.
So welcome to $24.99 pretty soon.
Yeah, I think that that $18.99 quickly becomes $19.99.
Yeah, I think the predictions are going to be like, your predictions for the year. I'd be interested to hear what your predictions are for pricing by the end of like 2025 or 2026.
I mean, I definitely didn't see the baseline of. I said they weren't probably going to be lower.
Yeah,
which I know a lot of people were hoping for, but I didn't expect them to go up by 25%, the lowest submissions, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's crazy. That means that generally the card collecting ecosystem is relatively strong. You always wonder then when you get overheated in junk slabs, or people, just kind of playing the lottery, do they fully understand it? Have they, to get a card, grade it, sell it, is that still a good proposition for? And I think usually, in these phases, we're getting you'd get a lot of people grading cards that really they shouldn't be grading, either because of the condition of the card or because they need to hit a low probability 10 to make money, and they always have the hope that they will. So
yeah, there was in one of my fantasy football leagues chats, there was somebody asking if anybody knew about cards, and they listed off, they had opened some boxes of American football cards and got some nice cards, and they asked if they should get them graded, and I'm like, you just got to look and see like what the, how we explain it, to like look at like, okay, what's the chances of getting a 10 versus a 9? What's a 10 sell for versus a 9? What can you sell for it for raw? And so out of the like 6 or 7 cards, it ended up being one card that was actually worth it. But if nobody answered him,
he would have sold 6.
Exactly. And
it's funny because I looked at, Alex and I were going through his Pokemon cards. His Pokemon's been on fire, part of the reason for this problem. And we found like 50 cards, right? And then he did exactly that. Hang on, Jared. I'll come back to that in a second. So I got we had the stack of 50, and we were doing the research, and in general, to get a 9 was worth the cost of grading. But to get a 10, well, this was when it was $13.99, the TCG special at the beginning of the year. This was right around Christmas. Wow, I can't believe we're already May. It's so long ago. Anyway, and then so you'd get between $13 and $15 for a 9, and then you get call it $30 to $60 for a 10. And if it was generally that bet, and you looked at the card and there's no obvious flaws like chipping or stuff like that, you'd say, okay, well, it's kind of a break-even proposition, right? Where I get it, I get a 9, okay, I broke even, I get a 10, I'm better off. And then we went to do the sub, and then it was like $18.99, a card, and now you're like in the water, $6 a card.
You have to hit every like 5th card to break even.
Yeah, so you're like, and then we looked at our stats from our other submission of something similar we did, because some of these cards were cards that he had as a kid, right? So he wasn't like, taking them out, sleeving them, jamming them in. And we had, about a 40% gem rate, right?
Okay.
And so you're like, okay, in aggregate, you could probably still justify it, but we're in no hurry and don't want to pay $19 a card. So we want to, we'll shelve that one. Jared, question. How much did I get upcharged to? A lot. I got upcharged $1,000 to I submitted under Super Express, which was $250 in last month's special, and I got upcharged to $1,000 a card.
What stage did you get the upcharge? Do you recall? Or
I got it at so not in assembly. It came out of grading, and I got the email before encapsulation.
Okay. So then that's at assembly. Where is that in relation to encapsulation?
Yeah, here, let me tell you the stages. Maybe that's not the exact word. So it goes from research, and then it goes to I'm in arrived, order prep, research and ID, grading, assembly. So in assembly, where is his assembly?
So that's likely where.
So that's where I got it. And then I got an email, like no calls or anything. And so I would check your spam email if it's been stuck in assembly for a while. And this was an interesting one because there were some cards, and I'll kind of reveal on a video when they get here next week, that hadn't traded publicly. And it was, kind of interesting. They said, we're confident that, at auction, these cards would sell for, effectively, they're saying in the $10,000 to $25,000 range. And I certainly don't necessarily disagree, but I also say it's hard to say with any degree of certainty, and that's a big range, right? So kind of in the process of having a prolonged discussion with them about the various the charging here. So anyway, it got bunkered down so far like 3 days on that.
So yeah, you may be having something headed your way, Jared. We'll see. Good luck.
Good luck.
All right. So why don't we hop into some auctions?
Yeah.
Let's see here. Maybe some Golden Elite to start. And this was the Golden Elite that ended last weekend.
A couple of Alifas, right?
Yep. So we have a PSA 5 Alifa that went for $44,000 and a PSA 4 that went for $34,000.
Both better than the authentics that went for nearly $30,000.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing when you think about what those 4 went for relative to that.
Yeah. I think that's a slight tick up on those. Some of these earlier autographs from Ronaldo and Messi are going crazy. Look at that CR7 one down there in the middle. It's a little down.
Yeah, this one here.
Immaculate, yeah. $15,000. Wow.
A lot of, the newer stuff, not too much vintage in this.
That was interesting. That's a blue 2014. And it's kind of an interesting set because those are numbered to 199.
Yep.
None of these were, only 2 of them were graded, and they were graded 9s, so maybe not the best condition set, but it's kind of impressive to put together a set of all the blues,
Yeah, I mean, especially that year, there's only 199 of them, so
yeah. So I thought that was really a cool lot. Of course, it would cost you an equal amount to get them graded if you wanted to do the set registry thing. But if you just wanted to hold them in a box, I think it's a cool set.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that feels like that would be a good one to have if you truly believe in that set long term. Just throw it in a set box and just open it up in a decade.
Yep. I actually thought about it, but
your only critique of the Alifa is that they all have blue jerseys.
don't like the photo, I guess. Sorry, I got some allergies here.
Now it's the time of year.
Looking forward to that ending.
What's that?
I'm looking forward to that ending.
Yeah. Here we have the Crying Pele that went for 3,700. I believe Champ got that, if I'm correct.
To me, I love that card, and it seems like such a great price for a grade adjustment on this. Like 5.5 is a really big grade, and 3,700 that's a great pickup.
Yeah,
I love that pickup. Congrats to the Champ. Shout out to the Champ. He loves shout.
So that's about it. Still seeing a lot of jerseys.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's it. Not too much.
And mostly modern. I mean, the only real vintage cards there were that Bremer Pele and the Alifas. I mean, really nice cards, but just not pretty.
Yeah, not a huge variety, that's for sure. All right, there wasn't too much in the weeklies. I scrolled through them, and it was pretty much the same. I mean, some of the auctions, it felt like 90% were jerseys.
So many. I wonder what their jersey. We've talked a little bit about this before, but that they have some sort of a jersey connection.
Well, and it's not even just there. Like when I'm looking at like Heritage, like it's all jerseys also. Like it's either video games, soccer. When I search soccer and I sort it, it's also 80% jerseys and 20% video games.
Interesting.
It's just a lot of jerseys out there. So I think somebody's just dumping everything that they've accumulated. And maybe it is many different people. I don't know, but it just feels like there's a nonstop flow, or it's the same ones getting auctioned. So we'll head over to the
mostly dubious. I would, to my eyes, mostly dubious provenance.
Yeah, and I don't even necessarily know that those are even being represented as anything besides signed jerseys. I haven't looked.
Yeah, I haven't looked either, just because that's kind of not my gig. But
okay, so here is the Fanatics Collect Premier auction. There was 4 cards that went in the last auction. These 4 here. So we have 4 Messis. Oh no, yeah, 4 Messis. Let's see, is there anything? Nope, that was in March. So Flawless for 14. We have a PSA 9. Bis for 55.
And at the height of the, so at the height of the market, I think it was around this neighborhood, slightly higher maybe. And then when we had the kind of market correction, it went down as low as the high teens. And now to see it back up to 55 is a pretty big deal, I would say.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that also, just even that the other Mega Cracks one, the Campio, the 10 for 12,000, that feels like really strong also.
Yeah, I mean, I think these
they might have gone for like 20 before.
Yeah, the 35, the blue one, I think went as high as 50.
Yeah.
But yeah, these have bounced back to solidly they were in the single digit thousands for a while. High single digit. I don't think they ever hit like below 5, but
yeah.
But now seeing those back up at 12, and then of course just gold seems to run the day, and to 10 and Kaboom. So that has all the types of things you may want to see out there. But it's a 2024 card. I mean, I guess still it's Messi Kaboom Gold. So I guess that's what doesn't matter what year.
Could somebody do some research for us and let me know how many Messi Kaboom Golds there are? Across the board.
Across all of the Kabooms. I mean, I think you've got to, at least I would guess, there's probably 60. I don't know if there's been in that many Kabooms, but so that's still not, I mean, there's less.
Yeah, for it being like a very it's got the Kaboom, which everybody loves. It's got the gold, which everybody loves. And then you just, so it has a lot of things going for it. And 60 isn't a ton. It's not like, just like how many autographs there are or something like that. So,
yeah. And then, so you look at that, at least I look at that and I'm like, okay, you've got, let's say that it's, let's just say that it's 50, because I think there's 50 PSA 9 Messi rookies 71 bis. Which way do you go? Would you rather have one of the Kabooms that are 50 or 60, or one of the PSA 9 rookies? For me, and it's probably just the heritage and I'm old, I would gonna pick the rookie, like absolutely easiest decision of the day for me.
Yeah, but if there was 20 of them sitting out in front of me, or let's say there's all of them were sitting out in front of me, and they say you get to pick 20 of them, how many are you picking of each? I think I'm taking 19.
I would look at the Kabooms, because there'll be 6 different cards, each one, or 5 or 6. So they
take
would
one
be
of
different.
each.
I may take one of each. If I don't like the image, then maybe I would take one of each just for have them run.
Yeah,
because that would be kind of cool. But I mean, any extra, it automatically goes to the bis, the rookie, the 71 bis.
So actually, I'm really curious as to what anybody's thoughts were. Let's say there's 100 out there on the table, and you have 20. How many of each are you taking? Pretty interested to hear what other people's opinions are, because it could be all over the place. I could see where people want doubles of each of the Kabooms, and then go with 8 or 10 of the bis. Just to.
And I'm gonna highly bet here, Bill, that if you also put your age in your response, because I'm gonna bet that if you're I bet that if you're 45 or older, it's gonna be 71 bis, nearly.
Yeah, at least 80%.
Yeah, and then I think that if you're 35 and under, it's gonna be Kabooms, and then I think if you're in between, I don't know. So it would be interesting, but for me, it's just how I'm built, right?
Yeah, I mean that's a good thought process. So taking one of each and then have the rest be the rookie like that. That makes sense.
Because he has Kabooms for Argentina, and then I think at that point the first Kabooms he's just in PSG. Is that the year? I forget when his first Kaboom is.
And let's knock it down to 10. How many out of 10 would you take? Because that'll make it a little more.
Make it harder.
Yeah. So you're not like, oh, I'm gonna have a ton of rookies anyway or whatever. So.
Because I mean, I like the 9 Messi 71 bis along with Sports Card Harry, 1 Kaboom each year, the rest 70. Yeah. How old are you, Sports Card Harry? 33. You don't need to disclose if you don't want to.
33.
Okay, 33. So he's. I see. I would have thought that. Well, that's kind of on the line, right? So you get the Kabooms, but the priority is the 71 bises. I just like. I think the 71 bis kind of ends up being the mantle of our generation, and so to have it in a 9 is just still monstrous. An amazingly good grade.
Yeah. I and if we even lowered it to 5, that would be a much more difficult.
If it was 5, I'd probably take the Kaboom I most like if there was an Argentina 2022, and then 4 Messi rookies.
Yeah. So
2 best looking kabooms. Yeah. So
very similar ratios. Yep.
Yeah. Great minds think alike here, Sport Card Harry.
So yeah, that's pretty much it for the Fanatics premiere. So we can move on to the weekly.
And hey, here's a fun fact, because I wasn't even sure if I had this, but I actually do have a Messi kaboom. And it was 2018 Barcelona PSA 9. So he did have a Barcelona kaboom.
Okay. A gold
I thought
one?
it was just PhD. I think all of them have golds to 10. I have a regular one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I meant. Did you have a gold?
Oh, I do not know. I never. It's more of just kind of like a novelty. I like kind of like kabooms, and then it was Barca and Messi. So I don't even know.
A lot going for it.
For me, I just like, all right, I'll pick that up sometime.
0 kabooms for me out of 10, 28. Give me the 71 bis all day.
Wow. So so I would think some younger people would like it. Thanks for responding.
So maybe it's just if you're a modern collector, because we are skewed towards, if people are watching us, they're skewed towards vintage. So
they're probably more, vintage.
Although hopefully we have some crossover, you can complain at us for being old fogies, which
we don't mind.
Yeah, we complain to each other about being old fogies.
We kind of see it as a badge of honor.
Yeah. Yeah, we're old. You're right.
Yep. You're not wrong. Things freaking crack as I move.
Crack. Yep. All right. So we're going to move to the auction 169, which was 3 weeks ago. That ended 3 weeks ago. And this is sorted from 2004 and earlier, and sorted by the highest sale price. So 69, there was only one item that went for over $1,000 because everybody was waiting for 170 because that was the vintage soccer auction. So, here's one of the U.S. Tingles, went for just under 1,000. Eduardo P with some U.S. and Uruguay for 430.
And that actually wasn't a bad condition one, right?
Yeah, it was a PSA 2, which is pretty decent for that set.
Yeah, and it's it's in action, right?
Yep, and you can clearly see the U.S. crest on the front of the kit. 1910 Wills, international footballers, Meredith, PSA 2 goes for under 400. Most of the other things kind of seemed like in line price wise. So not a ton to really talk about. I thought this Di Stefano might have sold for more than it did. Just being an earlier, dated as 1953. But
nothing here kind of super jumped out at me, positive or negative. This again was just kind of a sleepy auction, getting ready for the big auction,
which is right here. And so I feel like we've gone over this 3 times now.
I know. Well, I think we have, but I think we did on the premium channel kind of twice. So I don't think we've generally talked about this broadly in the public.
And this is an important one to discuss, just because it feels like this was almost our own little premiere auction. There's a lot of nice items. There was a lot of activity. We had a good turnout on our watch party that we did live. We'll get better as we move forward. It felt like shit was just moving so fast, and it was.
We will. We if you weren't aware of kind of the watch party or aware of kind of the Discord, first, where have you been? then second of all, make sure you join the Discord. Bill has a link here below. Join it. You'll get news about stuff like that, because this auction 170 is going to happen every 10 weeks or so. So the next one, 180, will also be a similar vintage soccer auction.
Yep. And and we're gonna try to do a live watch party for those. So if just keep an eye out for that, even if you're not in the Discord. So if you're watching us, click the bell and subscribe to this channel so that you can get updates when we are going live.
Yeah, and like this video so it helps the
algorithm. Yeah.
There you go.
So
we rarely advertise. We don't really remind people.
We never market.
I think this may be the first time that we've done that in like 10 videos or something.
Yeah, likely.
But please do. It doesn't cost you anything, and we certainly appreciate it, because we're just trying to get the word out of soccer collecting and vintage soccer collecting in particular out to the market. So
yep, and the more subscribers, the more viewers, the more comments. All of that, the better for the channel and indirectly the soccer card market. So okay, let's scroll through some of these things. Just as why don't we go over this as a general rule? Like it felt like what we discussed like in the premium was like it felt like the really rare stuff, the stuff that's difficult to get, did really well in this auction. The items that maybe kind of got lost in the shuffle are the things that are a little bit more readily available that people weren't quite as focused on. So maybe there was some weakness in some of those items. In particular, the stuff that didn't quite get to like let's say $400 and less, but especially like $200 and less. It feels like a lot of that stuff when we looked at it was pretty weak, but big cards that are difficult to find did overall really well in this auction.
And I don't think it's a general market. I'm going through it together on the live. I don't think that you could say all big cards are doing well and all low value cards are not doing well. I think it's in this particular auction. If you were focusing on something and you're focused on the big card, you got distracted because we had items that went until what, 11, 12, which I don't think.
Yeah, it was in the teens, I think. And
in the auction, which normally like by 11 everything's done. Most stuff is done by like
11:04. Yeah.
And then certainly, and we had the last stuff available in the auction, which just meant people were highly focused on some of these bigger, rarer cards. And so a lot of stuff that, may have been in the 200 range sold for, 100 or 150 or, below where you may expect. So I think this auction is really going to be a one that you would want to only, consign cards that have, rock solid kind of values.
Yeah. Because it almost feels like if you have like something that's a really great card, but maybe there's more of it, it almost might be worth putting in one of the other auctions, just the like 171, 172, because it'll be like the top of the line kind of thing being offered in that auction. So there'll be more eyes and people have more time really to keep an eye on it versus like this. So anyway, we'll get to scrolling and we'll make some comments. We're not going to dig in quite as deep as we did the last two, I don't think, but
yeah.
But here we have the Alifa Altered that we talked about that went for $26,000, which is it went for $6,000 more than the 3.5. So
yeah, and I know that people will have been saying how clean this is and stuff, but I mean, in my general experience with PSA, if they have something authentic altered, maybe once in my time I've seen them graded differently. If that was the bet here, I feel like it's a long shot.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not going to do that usually with a PSA. Like, would I do it with a SGC? Potentially. Would I do it
Yeah,
with a CGC? Potentially. Like, I just PSA, I'm a little more concerned about betting on that being able to flip or cross over into a number grade.
especially when you can get a nice 3.5 and keep 6 grand in your pocket.
Yeah, let's see
Um,
what else you could get for 6 grand in here.
yeah, without the risk,
Correct.
right? It just seems like crazy bet here. Now, in fairness, the sizing does look right,
Yeah.
but remember,
But it
trimming
just
is
says
not the
altered. It doesn't say cut.
exactly. So it could be recolored, right? Somebody could just touch something, even accidental, like or that they didn't think they were altering the card when they did something. It could be the back had a scuff on it and somebody took an eraser, and that eraser,
Yep.
gets picked up. So, the alter doesn't just mean trimmed.
Right. All right. Let's see here. This was a big one that a lot of people were talking about, the Copa, the Boleche. That goes for almost $10,000. Earliest Copa that we're probably going to see just on the slab. So, I mean, I'm sure that's very attractive to anybody that wants to collect his items. And it's a pretty big gap, in years of, you know, so you'll feel it's kind of like almost like it feels like the Puskas, right? Like in that regard, because you have the Puskas and then there's like this gap, and then the next graded card is 4 or 5 years later. So, um, and then we have the Moreno also for 10,000, a 6 Cruyff for 8,000, and I feel like of these three, I feel the two on the left, which are ones we don't see nearly as often, did much
Did better.
better. Yeah.
Did better. Yep. I think that's right.
We have the Nasazi PSA 2 that goes for 5,000. Again, something you don't see a ton, and so it did quite well versus our expectations. I'm happy to see it for sure. But like you compare that to a 5 Garincha, granted there is some, there's a little bit of a thing on his cheek, but if you say a 5 Garincha of like his earliest accessible sticker, I would have never thought the Nasazi would go for the same.
Yeah, exactly. And it went for slightly more. And the Garincha, so this is another example, right? So the Garincha, great card, low pop and a 5. But because you see them every year, kind of, it goes for below the last one. The last one was 7. The 3 cards of the highest performers are cards you never see.
Yep.
And those actually did really well. And then the ones that you even see, that and the Cruyff and even this like Alifa 1 didn't do, it wasn't the top of the market for those. It was the top of the market for the rarer stuff.
Yep. The Zico's another one. The USA team card is another one. Items you don't see that often, and they sell for really, really good prices. Even with this is an authentic, and it got close to $6,000 or $5,000 almost.
Yeah, so we're sitting right here. So here's my copy, my Team USA copy.
So that's a $10,000 card now.
I guess if it's a 3, right? That's an authentic. Here's my my Zico of this issue.
Yeah, that's only 4,000.
Yeah, it's a piece of shit. No, can throw that.
It's not even graded.
Yeah, I know. Well, PSA won't grade those. By the way,
my dog's mad at that.
Yeah, he's like that's bullshit.
Yeah, don't be talking shit, Bill.
Don't be talking shit, Bill, about the Zico card. Hey, yeah, just so you guys know, I think I've said it. I said it on the premium for sure. That card won't be graded by PSA anytime soon. So just be careful if you're into grading. And you don't feel good about having an ungradable card that you're willing to spend a lot of money for, then just be aware, because your choices with that are CGC or nothing right now.
Yeah. And I don't think, and there's nothing wrong with it being CGC. It's just that if your goal is to have all PSA, it's just not going to happen because of the type of issue it was. It's not that there's anything wrong with it. It's not anything like that. It's just that it's not, they don't have all the information they have to feel comfortable putting it into a PSA slab.
And by the way, they have the full album.
Yeah.
Right. They have pictures of the full album. It's just the editor is the album's called Super Cracks, but there's no editors, meaning it's a pirate. They issued it, but they didn't want to say who they were. Right. So, so they probably didn't have a license or something, and just kind of issuing stuff. And in the end, PSA does do some of those types of albums in some sports and sometimes. So if I had to guess, fast forward 3 years, 5 years, if enough of these get graded by CGC, it becomes more of a common issue. They're just not going to be the first movers to make a call like this on a pirate type album. That's my take. Sense. I mean, obviously, I who knows, right?
Yeah, I mean, but if you're betting on them doing it, it's a risky bet, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, and you can get the other rookie, the Aurora rookie that uses the same photo for substantially the same price.
All right. We have a Fritz Walter 4 for 3,600, a Kubala for 3,400.
That cool Pele right there. I mean, with the stamp on it.
Yeah, that's
3,059 Pele. Very cool. That was went towards the top end of our range.
Yep. Platini 8 for 3,000. Which really looks good. I mean, when you look at it, it's
the centering looks great. This one has a problem with centering. There's been some worries about that particular card. Showing up in high grade a lot, maybe not always being, perfect. But I mean, we talked about that, Brad. Hey, good to see you, by the way. Hopefully that's kind of hadn't seen you in a while. It's authentic, and it likely would get an authentic or authentic altered, even though it's hand cut, because it's super tightly cut. You want to go back up? I think it's up there.
Yeah.
But I feel like that was a fair price for that particular card and a great looking copy.
Yeah, I don't right. Like it says it doesn't meet size requirement or whatever. That's the explanation. So, but yeah, if you're a collector, being able to get that at that price point is pretty attractive to me, at least. It's not like I feel bad because it's an authentic, you know what I mean? Like, and
it's hand cut. So the person just cut it slightly inside.
Yeah. Whether it was hand cut, 2 weeks ago or 40 years ago.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. All right. We had that Sastre for just under 3,000. That's something you don't see every day. We have a couple of these Maradona discs, 24 and 2,600. The 1.5 went for more than the 2, probably because of how well it's placed in the slab.
I think on these things, when you're a 1.5, and a 2, you go for the best eye appeal for whatever is important to you, right? I think the harder to explain result was that authentic going for 26,000 when a 3 is going for 20,000 on the Alifa, right?
Yeah, that's definitely a little more head scratching. All right, let's see.
And that's a huge price on the Pele.
That crack Pele.
Yep.
2,400 for the 3. It's a good grade for sure. Here we have Quiggle 3 for 2,200. Ferreira 3 for 2,100. Which one of those two do you prefer?
I probably take the Ferrara here. It's a rare. The records are rare. A 3 is like a crazy high grade for this issue.
Yeah,
probably the highest grade. I don't know.
And the Queagle is like so off center, and
yeah, that particular copy is like, eh. So that's probably what I do here. I'm not a Queagle hater. I know a lot of people are. I am not one of those. I actually like the Queagle.
Yep.
But in this one, I think from a rarity, eye appeal, grade perspective, I think the Ferraro wins in my mind. You?
I mean, it depends what I'm doing. But I think like I would rather have the Pele in regards to my bet on the market.
Yeah, if I was looking for a store of value or I was an investor, I would go Pele. But
yeah, but personally, yeah, I agree. I would rather the record because that's kind of more the wheelhouse of my collection. So.
And the back on the record is like so small and detailed, very interesting back.
Yeah, let's see if we can get that on there. Oh yeah, here.
Yeah, it's fun to read. I don't remember exactly what it is. I was like, this is cool, like their program and whatnot. So I need to put on the high magnification glasses.
Oh my god! Like, here's where we talk about how old we are. Like, these eyes are just like I can't read shit and like the small print, like especially if there's not a high contrast. Like, oh my god, just count me out. Even with my bifocals, it's terrible. Anyway.
Yeah, well, it's funny since we always do some old man thing here and there. So this will be this old man segment that we do. The whoa. Wow, the world looks. So I was at. I forgot my glasses. We went out to dinner, and the server came up and was like, "Hey, what's that? What's that? Hey, these guys, yeah."
Can you read that out?
Yeah, I can't read it. I'm like, let me see. And that's in like 52 point font. So I'm there, and I'm like, he's like, yeah, well. He's like, what are you going to have? And I said, you know what? I can't read, because meaning that I didn't
Lights
have
are
my
low.
glasses. But he interpreted that more literally. Like, oh my God, this guy can't read. Like, not that he doesn't have his glasses, like he's illiterate, right? And so
that's
then
amazing.
I just went along. And then I just went along with it for the rest of the evening.
Yeah, what does this say here?
I'm like, hey, babe, can you read that to me? And then she would read it. And then it was like,
why is she with this guy?
Yeah. Oh, you can see that right across. I was like, in this day and age, this guy can't read? That's insane.
It's like hieroglyphics to me.
Exactly. I see a lot of scratching print, but I don't know any of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a riot. Now I caught myself using that a couple times just to see what people's reactions were.
Yeah. See, now you are old because you're screwing with people. That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, that's the little enjoyment I get out of my day-to-day interaction. Yeah. So anyway, I thought this went low. The Eusebio rookie. That was one. Actually, I think I was the underbidder on this because we were live in the show, and I'm like, that's so low. Placed a bid, was a high bidder, and then someone came along later and did
squeaked it out, huh?
And the Alves, big price, but that's a super hard sticker in a 9.
Yeah,
crazy hard sticker. I think I have a 7.
Okay.
And that took years to get. So a 9's crazy high.
All right. We have
look at that 9 Roberto Carlos. That's where they really go typically, I think.
Yeah.
That wasn't, again, the theme is the more common, even in high grade stuff, went for more or less what you'd expect. And then some of the rare things like that Schaefer 1200, that's a big price. The Orth, I don't think we've seen an Orth at auction.
Yeah. So a PSA 1 for 1200. That's a pretty good result.
That 7 Mueller went for 1200. I thought that was super low too.
But again, it's something we see a lot, so that kind of makes sense.
Not necessarily in that grade, but we
correct.
do see it, right?
But sometimes in your mind, you're like, well, I can get something at least close to that at any point. So I'm going to
So
focus on
I'll go
something I
on
can't.
something that's rarer, right?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Which that Ochoa was a big result right here. I don't
Yep.
think we've ever mentioned some Ochoas have gotten close to $1,000. I don't think we'd ever seen one cross that threshold.
Yeah, I don't believe so.
And
we just scrolled through what, like 70 cards that sold for over $1,000.
that's crazy, right? That's the Bonsiere rookie at 1,000. Another one sold this last weekend for 1,200.
So there we are. I mean, we could keep scrolling, but we just scrolled
Yeah,
through.
I think I mean more than individual auctions here. If you want an individual auction rundown, follow USMNT. He does great PWCC reviews weekly, in depth. So definitely shout out to Alec there, who does that. And I think that it was just a great auction for soccer in general, vintage soccer in particular. Super excited about what we accomplished as a community on this.
And I misspoke. It was 45 that were 1,000 or more. I thought I had 48 on each page. I only had 24. So
still, that's like I'd say in a normal week we just get a handful.
Yeah, we had one, and then here we are, 1, 2, 3, 7 in the 171 auction. So the one that ended last week.
Yeah.
Hello from Ireland.
Oh, hello. Man, it's getting late there, so hopefully there's a few pints of Guinness in you and enjoying your Friday night.
Sounds delicious. All right, so let's get through this. We don't see too many of these Shifianos.
Yeah. It's a good grade too, a 4, maybe the highest graded. I'm not sure, but it feels like the highest grade. I think most of these are 1s and 2s. This particular issue comes with Shiafino both in his club and country jerseys. So
and it says none graded higher for this one at least.
I can't read that, but it says I see little letters down there under that. So yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Otherwise, you'd be looking at my nostrils as I'm going through.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, here's the other Balanciere that we mentioned. Went for 1,200.
Yep, the Force of Gold Baggio 1,500.
That feels a little low to me. How do you feel that? Like I don't know. I feel like we had seen a couple of these over the last couple quarters, and one was 2,000 or maybe it was a PSA 4. Actually, I think it was a PSA 4 that went for like 2,500. So maybe a 2 is fine here.
Yeah, I felt like it was running really hot, like to start the auction. And then it just kind of petered out because I was like, oh, look at this thing. It's like cooking. Like when I looked at the auction to start. And
oh, yeah. Like you mean it got a lot of the bids early.
Yeah.
And sometimes that happens. They just close. And then people are like, or the bidder who was competitive never logged back in to run it up more. So
I drank more Guinness than Georgie Best.
Nice. You're a good man then. Or woman. I guess I don't know.
Or person. Well, or both.
I like this Rivera, really cool card.
Good coloring.
Yeah, I feel like this is the best rookie out there from my perspective.
This is a PSA 2. It says there's 2 2s and there's 1 graded higher. So for 1,000, that makes sense.
To me,
these Nike promos used to sell for a lot. That feels low relative to what my brain's telling me.
But high relative to what they were pre-boom, right?
Yeah. During the boom, I guess, is where my brain went.
Yeah, during the boom, they went nuts, right? I want to say like $5,000, $6,000, $8,000. Man, that Platine Di Stefano never really caught fire, right?
No, I was expecting it to go for more, honestly. Like, it's just one that was kind of decently available, back in the day. But I can't say I've seen one of those annually since the boom.
And they come in different versions. So a
Yep.
red version, a blue version, and they have some different backs. And it's kind of fun because it's, you don't see many cards that are done that are issued by, soap companies.
Right.
So that kind of makes it a fun kind of nuance
Yeah.
as well. Scott picked up that Piacacante card.
Cool. All right. So let's see.
Was that just was this one just last weekend?
This was last weekend. Yeah.
So we're almost caught up with things. I mean, in general, I'd say latent strength. What did the PSA 9 CR7 go for over here? BGS. I mean, yeah, BGS 9.
So these are like, this was on March 31st. Sold for 8,000. Okay. These are buy it nows from Fanatics.
Interesting. I don't think we've looked at those.
No, so I figured I would I'd at least scroll through them just to the buy it now sales over the past month. So yeah, that was for 8,000. Most of these are, 2,000 and newer, but here's a Quiggle 5 that went for 4,750. Cesarini Dolar for 300. PSA 9 Futbol.
How do you feel about that? I kind of think that may be low.
It feels light to me. That's why I kind of wanted to bring that up.
Because that's such an epic card, and to get it in a 9 for 2,800, I feel like that's a great deal for the buyer.
Yep. Another Moreno, PSA 1 for 3,400. That sold on April 25th, so just recently.
Yeah.
So substantially less, but it's a PSA 1 with a qualifier versus a PSA 2. And yeah, that's it. There's just a few things there that's probably worth talking about.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting now that you start to see. I think that's another market sign. I think in the market correction period, you almost saw no activity on the buy direct, platform, and you start to see movement there. Is just a good sign for the market because people are, making stronger bids on the offers, and then sellers are taking them.
Yeah, prices are, and it's at a point where like the prices are closer to each side, where we didn't see it too much back in the day, right? Everybody wanted the world, and there was just disconnect between buyer seller pricing. So
yeah.
All right, here's a few on eBay that I had saved over the past month. There's
what did the 6 Beckenbauer TTT go for on the top of your screen?
No,
it's right. It was right.
Oh yeah. So that went for 1,000.
Wow, so that's relatively low, no?
Yeah. So that went for 1,000. The PSA 5 went for 1,750 for the George Best.
Wow, that's low too. At least I'm feeling like it's low.
Yeah. Here's a PSA 8.
CR7 sticker rookie.
Yep, for 2,650. And then here's one of those Pele oversized postcard type things for 3,000. So that was really all that I had from PSA over the last month. That was eBay, and then nothing really at Heritage, and then just the last thing here is the sale room, or it's for Ladin's auctions. There was some St. Pete cards that sold.
A couple $100 each, right, on the common ones, and
some. It looks like 900, 700, 700. These are pounds, so all over 1,000.
Oh yeah! Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it must have been the opening bid was a couple $100. I
Yeah.
remember.
And I think it's so hard to like get this to oh, here's some St. Pete's that sold for less that look like they've been cut, like the bottom's been cut off. So yeah, that went for in the hundreds, like you were talking about. I know there's other nice things in the set, but I just have a hard time getting it so I can pull it up easily. Searching through it.
It's hard.
Here's a early bloomer that went for about $500. But yeah, so that's about it. I know I'm forgetting some good things in here. I think there were some South American cards in here.
Yeah, there were some. I can't really remember. I mean, it wasn't like earth-shattering stuff, but there were some Argentine cards, I think.
Yeah. Oh, here's some dollar that closed at 1,700.
Again, these are pounds, so if you're going to go to USD 1.3 plus all the fees.
Yeah, I usually multiply it by like 1.6. Now that's about where we're at for
where you end up with.
Yeah. So 1,700. You know, you're at what, probably closer to 2,800 ish.
Yeah.
Here was like a big lot of the
mauve, which and there were some good cards in there from what I recall.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do a quick scroll here to see if there's anything that catches my eye on this page, and then we'll call it a day. Because like when I went to search just football, interestingly, they didn't even the St. Pete's didn't come up. So like there's something with their search or how they labeled them,
how they categorize things.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, these dollar. Oh, these are records.
These are records. Yeah. But I think there's a Ferrara in this one. And they looked actually pretty clean. You see, there you go.
Yeah, here we are.
There's a Puseye, a Varello.
So these are nice.
This lot actually, even despite the shipping and whatnot, was probably some good value there. But there was like 4 what I would consider stars, and so you're still into them $800, $700-800 a piece before grading them. So maybe you end up at 1,000 a piece, but they looked great. This may be the best grouping I've seen in my time.
Yeah, the condition's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, so we made it through another month. So it was an exciting time. The auction 170 was a lot of fun. I could see them almost turning that into almost like our little vintage soccer premium auction. Every 2.5 months or so, and or 4 months. What is it?
10 weeks. So that's every
2.5 months.
2.5. Yeah.
So started out interested to see how many people submit this next auction, because this one did so well. Like it's like every auction, there's risks. Do you want to just going back to what we discussed at the start, if you're going to submit stuff, submit things that are hammers, right? That are just like monsters, and you should do good. And they also, I think they pay 110% on sales over 200.
Over 200. At least they did this one. I wonder.
Not to say that will always be the case. But
I don't know if they will. If they do that going forward, I think they'll still see stuff. If they pull that, I think they may lose some momentum.
Agreed.
Although above $1,000, you get 110% anyway.
Yeah, so right, I guess it really doesn't matter in that regard. It's just to get that secondary level.
So like you get some insurance if you're sure it's going to be greater than a few $100.
Yep.
You get that insurance. So
All
Yeah,
right.
man, good. Love the state of the market. And not the stock market, just to be clear, the soccer card market. Great to see you. Great to see everybody. If you haven't joined the Discord, please do so below and like this video and subscribe to Bill's channel. And we will see you on the Discord.
All right. Have a good weekend, everyone.
See ya.